So I represent Interface in the Highlands and Islands, and I'm based at Cowan House in Inverness. And Interface as an organisation is now in its 8th year of operation. There are actually 17, soon to be 19 members of staff. We have a specialised section for the food and drink sector. We are funded in the main by the Scottish Funding Council, the Scottish Government, a small amount of funding by HIE and ERDF money. So what do? We offered a tailored bespoke brokerage service for companies to access the wide diversity and knowledge of Scotland's universities and research institutes. So that means we essentially connect businesses with academia. It's like a matchmaking service, and it's a free service to business. So what we do, we aim to build long-lasting, sustained, collaborative relationships. So we want to increase the prosperity of business, and we want to increase the levels of innovation and KE, or knowledge exchange, within the universities, which helps them keep in touch with what the industry requires. We'll help companies of any size, from one-man band, limited partnerships, right the way through to multinationals. Any sector, any size, any aspiration. So really, how does the process work? Well, we meet a lot of our companies at events that we put on like this, also at events that we attend, but also by word of mouth and our social media activities. One of the things that we're very strong on is building collaborative relationships. So we collaborate very closely with several other key partners and intermediaries who work in a similar area such as we do, which, for example, Highlands and Islands Enterprise or Scottish Enterprise, Institute directors. We get a lot of referrals from them, and when companies come to speak to us, we'll sit down and have a chat, ascertain as to what the business might require. Quite often they don't know what they don't know. We'll frame that inquiry up. We'll set it and write it in the correct way so that the university can understand and respond to it. That's our job. We design the system to be as pain-free as possible for you, the business. So we take away most of the form filling away from you. You just have to do a little bit here and there. And once we've got your inquiry and we've framed it up, we do a live search of Scotland's university expertise to try and find a match for you. And if we get any responses from that inquiry, we'll collate them, we'll put them together, we'll put them back to you, talk through the process, and we'll facilitate the relationship, we'll make the introductions, and we'll point you towards any sorts of funding that might be available to help further your collaborative relationship. So when people ask, how do I collaborate with a university? Well, last time we looked, I think there was over 60 different ways to work with a university. And it can go from really basic things like a student project, like those guys that just trumped out were from UHI, Fort William, and they are students, and they would like real life experience. So maybe there's a student project that you can give them that real life experience to help better their careers, help get them a better understanding of what it's like to go into the job market. And it always goes through from contract research, consultancy, industrial placements, validation of products, validations of new services. But when we're thinking about this digital tourism interface, I want to put a few things out there. I want to say that times have moved on a little bit. Universities are not interested in designing your app for you. They're not interested in building your website. These are things that are done, they produce the graduates to go on and do these things. But they are interested in more of the esoteric things that you've heard today, some of the interesting methods of data capture, maybe actually the design of something that's on your website. We do have graphic design students in university who need real-life projects. New business models, artificial intelligence we've mentioned, e-commerce, innovative things, interesting things. So this next slide really just illustrates the wide diversity of the different institutes that we work with. And there are some there that might be a little bit of surprise to you. And we have had guys who are working timber, construction companies, who are surprised to see the forestry research there, which is actually the research arm of the Forestry Commission. And at the top there, that bull is not a city in Spain. That's the Animal Health Institute. And the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, which is the Academy of Dance, Drama, Music in Scotland. So what are the benefits of working with the university? Well, there are quite a few, and we ask our companies at the end of every year, what did you get out of it? And this is what they told us, and I think it's actually quite telling. It's stuff that is important to all of us, stuff like new products, processes and services, increased turnover, possibilities to expand, access to new markets. But what really seems to be important to the companies of the Highlands and Islands is this further investment, attracting further investment. Working with a university can increase the credibility of a project that you're undertaking. So if you're going to the bank manager and saying, yes, well, I've got a small project with St Andrews University, Robert Gordon University, we're looking at the feasibility of a new business model on website. Bank managers likely to think, they're quite serious, the university's partnered up with them. Could be good for you. So this is what the one thing that I'm asked about all the time, funding, funding, funding. And this slide really shows you the variety of funding that happens between industry and academia. And what it's supposed to also show you is the complexity can increase with increased amounts of money. So you start off at the bottom, student projects, where you may actually be paying for time, access to facilities, basic contract research. And then you move up through feasibility studies into the more complex and deep relationships that are involved around knowledge transfer, partnerships and EU Framework 7 funding. And they're more strategic partnerships. They usually involve multi-partner collaborations and strengthened and deepened relationships. So our companies usually start down there at the bottom, and one of the ways that you can fund a project is through an innovation voucher. Now, we Interface administer them on behalf of the Scottish Funding Council. It's up to a £10,000 project. Up to 5,000 of that is paid to the academic partner, and the remaining amount of money is matched by the university in cash or in kind. And these are kind of feasibility studies. So they're to say, look at direct problem-solving activities, look at whether a new product is feasible, look at a new way that the company you're going would work out for you. And they help you on the way to that relationship that you may have with the university. One of the most important and sort of more hidden things about them is that they can actually help you ascertain whether you're going to have a relationship, whether you get along, before you commit yourself to anything much longer term. The rules about innovation funding are that you can't have used with innovation vouchers that you can't have worked with that university before, and it must be a new and innovative project. You can find details of that on our websites, quite clearly written there. The universities also have their own pots of feasibility funding to initiate relationships with SMEs. And for example, Dundee has an innovation portal, which they will be able to give as they see fit to any forms that come in. There's also the TSB have just released a load of innovation vouchers, and they're £5,000 grants to enable you to work with an information provider. And that can be a university, and you can access a partner through us, but also that can be a patent advice, it can be a design engineer. Be all sorts of things, but one of the areas that there's 5 key areas the TSB innovation vouchers are working on at the moment, and one of them is open data innovation. So if anyone is thinking about that, maybe go to the TSB website, innovation vouchers, and have a look. You'll find links again on our website. So the best way is always to hear what other people have got to say. So some case studies.
The Staffin Community Trust has been actively developing projects on behalf of the community for over 13 years. The Trust was set up to stimulate economic and social activities in the community, improve services and strengthen the people's sense of place. The Trust has established an eco-museum which aims to help visitors explore Staffin. All the exhibits are located in the environment and require a short walk to discover their stories. The Trust wanted to work with an academic partner to develop an app for the area to allow visitors to have easy access to information about the area and the social and natural histories, and therefore creating a better visitor experience and showcasing all the attractions. Interface, the knowledge connection for business, introduced the Trust to the University of Strathclyde, who took the project forward as part of their MSc's students' assignment in marketing communications. The students looked into the design of the app and made recommendations on how to promote the final product. From this initial project, the Trust are now exploring how to develop the app further with an academic partner.
So that was Staffin Community Trust, and I know we have got some community trusts and development agencies here, and they really did jump straight on what was available at the time, which was looking at app development, and something very good has come out of it. But I'm also going to tell you here about ActiveGate. Now, this is a company in the Borders who wanted to have an interactive website to bring all local businesses together to inform about inspiring day trips and experiences for visitors. So the website encourages the exploration of new areas, walking, wildlife, heritage, as well as inspiration for rainy days and where you might meet up with people, such as cafes. And they wanted to become a central hub for all of the local companies. And they recognised that in order to do that, they needed a robust marketing strategy. So we sourced expertise for them at the University of Abertay's Dundee Business School. And they got a student assignment there. So 150 students were challenged to develop, design, and deliver an internet marketing campaign to the company. Now, the university were delighted to do this because it gave their students real-life experience in pitching to a company. Quite a nerve-wracking thing, but also a great thing to have on the CV. And the outcome of it, the owner was absolutely delighted because they got to launch a new website. She actually employed 2 of the students, and they have a rapid growth forecast for the future. And I'll just quickly tell you about hands-on events. Highland Events, they actually, Strathpether here, Alistair Lawton is the name of the gentleman, runs a load of cycling events. They're out 10 a year. They're endurance races, and they were looking at developing an events timing system. So they've been hiring a mat and chip-based system for ages so that the person taking place in the event has a chip, and they have to put it over something to record their time. Problem with these is they're linear. They're much better for linear events, and theirs were circular. So the riders would have to get off their bikes to record their time, or the mats and chips would, if they were actually on the rider, would become slippery with all the mud. So they asked us if we could link them with a university to help them find better technology to enable them to offer these events, which are good for tourism in the areas. I'm sure people around here will recognise the Strathpuffer is. So we connected with the Glasgow Caledonian, the Department of Mobile and Ubiquitous Computing, who knew the sector. And they were awarded a big award, which is a kind of like an innovation voucher, to look at the feasibility of designing such a system. And what they really found was that there was already a system out there, which is exactly what a feasibility study should show you. You don't have time to go and show that, but the university have said, hey, but this is already out there, this tech's out there, and here's what we suggest you do with them. And they were suggesting that they license the technology in and use it to try and develop their own timing system. So now the company's now left with an investment decision, which I think they're making about licensing it in. And collaboration in this case has saved them money by giving them the answer to a question that they needed answering. They couldn't have answered for themselves. So I really think that's all I've got to tell you about Interface. I hope I gave you a little bit of a flavour of what we do, and we really ought to move on and see whether there were any questions for all of our excellent speakers. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your wonderful presentations today, and to really helping deliver a really lovely rounded event that hopefully has given you a good idea of what you can do to increase your chances of success.